Good afternoon. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Swan Edgar Horizon Enamel Blue. This watch will be available on pre-order from the 6th of October with a limited production run of 300 pieces from swanandedgar.com for €928. Swan Edgar are a well-established microbrand based in London, and the Horizon is assembled and regulated in the UK by Horologium. The Horizon is inspired by the Battle of Britain and the White Cliffs of Dover, and it will be available in two colour options. This enamel blue version you're looking at, and also a mineral musu version, which is white. Now, usually at this point I would show you the watch box and the accessories that come with the piece, but however, this is a pre-production review sample, and therefore at the time of this review, the watch box and the accessories are currently in production and therefore not available. However, I'm pleased to report that this Horizon is covered by a 5-year international warranty. Now, I want to give due credit to Swan Edgar here, because the industry standard for mid-tier pieces between €500 and €5,000 price point respectively is 2 years. It's very unusual to see 5 years of international warranty at the €928 price point. They deserve full credit for that, and also I'm confident that the production models of the Horizon, both the enamel blue and the mineral musu versions, will come with a good quality watch box, owner's instruction manual in the form of a printed booklet with clear concise diagrams, instructions in English detailing the operation of the movement use, which is the Miyota caliber 9015 automatic, and of course a warranty card detailing the terms and conditions of the 5-year international warranty. So nonetheless, we'll move on to the specifications of the piece. We have a 39.5mm case diameter. We have a lug-to-lug measurement of 47.2mm, a thickness of 11.4mm, and a lug width of 20mm. The genuine leather strap is made from Italian suede leather, and you can see it tapers from 20mm at the integrated lugs down to the buckle and tang. Buckle and tang is solid 316L grade stainless steel, flawless mirror polishing to the top side, underside and flanks, and signed with high definition engraving with the Swan Edgar text logo. Nice curvature to it. I like the curved profile in a U shape, and nice scallops to the undercuts to the flanks, which enhances comfort level and feel good factor. No sharp edges to the undercuts, no sharp edges. Quality of the mirror polishing throughout is flawless. Two keepers on the suede leather strap. First one is fixed, second keeper slides as one would expect, and there are enough holes to fit from a 6-inch minimum wrist size up to a maximum 7.5-inch wrist size, which I'll show you in the wrist shots. We have a double dome sapphire crystal with clear AR coating on the underside, and the glare reflective coating does an outstanding job of reducing the glare and the highly reflective nature of the silver mirror polished alpha handset, and also the 18 karat gold plated triangle at 12 o'clock, as well as the silver ring around the chapter ring. So, to clarify, the hands are CNC cut to perfection, and they're not flat, they're faceted, and after CNC cutting they are mirror polished to absolute high tier level. These hands remind me of Grand Seiko Dolphin hands, which are mirror polished to a level above Rolex, Tudor and Omega respectively. That's the level of finishing with these CNC cut hands. I really like the alpha hand shape, rather like Dolphin hands, and also I like the red tip to the needlepoint second hand. So this piece, the Horizon, is inspired by the Battle of Britain and the White Cliffs of Dover, and it's also inspired by the Battle of Britain clock, which was used by the British RAF during the Battle of Britain. So to clarify, the design elements they've included are the 3 colours, yellow, blue and red, because we have the yellow for the 18 karat gold triangle at 12 o'clock. Also, we have the blue because the dial is made from Swiss Black enamel fume, and of course that's blue. And then we have the red tip to the second hand. So we have yellow, blue and red, and they were the colours used in the Battle of Britain clock used by the RAF. The other thing they've incorporated to the design element is the fonts used for the 12 Arabic numerals inside, inlaid in the 18 karat gold triangle. The 12 font is exactly the same font as used on the Battle of Britain clock used by the British RAF. So I really like that continuity of design. The 3 colours, yellow, blue and red, and also even the font is identical to the fonts used on the Battle of Britain clock. Hence the inspiration for the Horizon, both this enamel blue version and the mineral musu version, which is white, which is inspired by the White Cliffs of Dover. Now, the dial is my favourite aspect of this piece. As I've detailed, it's made from Swiss Black enamel fume. Swan Edgar spent 1.5 years developing this dial, and they have finished it to perfection. So to clarify, Swiss Black enamel is some of the very best quality enamel in the watchmaking industry. Usually Swiss Black enamel fume dials are seen on high tier pieces costing €10,000+ price point. It is exceptional. It is very unusual to see a Swiss Black enamel enamel fume dial used on a mid-tier piece between €500 and €5,000 respectively. To remind you, this is €928. We are not looking at a €10,000 plus high tier level piece, it's mid-tier. So Swan Edgar really deserve credit for two things: spending 1.5 years developing the dial to finish it to perfection, and also using Swiss Berlac enamel, which is the very best in the watchmaking industry. What I like about it is it's very aesthetically pleasing because it's graduating. The fume graduates from a lighter blue in the centre to a darker navy blue at the circumference or chapter ring. And when you tilt the piece at an oblique angle, you can see the quality of this Swiss Berlac enamel is just absolutely flawless. Often with enamel dials, they have inclusions present in the enamel. They have flaws, they have stress fractures, they have cracks, because when you are producing a enamel dial, it has to be heat treated or cured in a kiln. And of course, you apply several layers of enamel, then you put it into a kiln, and then it gets heat treated, and then it cures. But the problem is often they develop flaws or inclusions. Also, the texture isn't perfectly smooth, it can be rough. And this is one of the best quality enamel dials I've seen. Regardless of price point, low tier, mid tier, high tier, this is some of the best quality Swiss Berlac enamel I have ever seen on a watch. The fume dial is absolutely mesmerising. Make no mistake, this is not a mid-tier dial. This is a €10,000 plus level dial. Swiss Berlac enamel fume, absolutely gorgeous. 1.5 years of development to get this to this standard. Now, the other thing I like about it is the triangle. As I've detailed, it's inspired by the Battle of Britain clock, which used triangles, which were yellow. And rather than just painting the triangle yellow, which would have been a production cost-cutting measure, Swan Edgar have gold plated it. This is 18 karat gold plated to 10 microns of thickness. No production cost cutting in order to maximise profit margin per piece whatsoever. One doesn't see an 18 karat gold plated 10 micron thick triangle on a mid-tier piece between €500 and €5,000. This is the first and only time I've seen 10 microns of 18 karat gold used on a mid-tier piece on a dial. Absolutely stellar. So adds continuity of design because it's inspired by the Battle of Britain clock, but also makes the piece very aesthetically pleasing. What I like about this piece overall is this is not an homage to a Rolex, Tudor or Omega piece. Often mid-tier brands and mid-tier micro brands between €500 and €5,000, they take the less risky default option of producing an homage to a Rolex, Tudor or Omega because they know that the mid-tier collectors in the market, their target customer, those pieces will appeal to them and they'll buy the homage piece, therefore they are low risk. What I like about this is not an homage. This is a complete original design. The dial, the alpha handset, the Swiss Berlac enamel fume dial, the triangle being plated with gold plating in 18 karat gold, the Arabic numerals being inspired by the Battle of Britain clock. Every aspect, every detail of this Horizon piece is completely original. The dial, the handset, the bezel, the case back, it's completely original. So I really like that originality, and it is more risky because of course they produce a limited production run of 300 pieces of the Horizon in 2 colours, but there's a risk that collectors won't like it won't appeal to them, rather than an homage, which of course would appeal. So dial is fantastic. Now, the other thing I like about it is the dial is minimalist. It's not over-branded with unnecessary text or specification. They've got the fundamentals correct. Often mid-tier brands and mid-tier micro brands make the mistake of over-branding the dial with too much information. So, to balance the 12 o'clock triangle with 12 o'clock Arabic numerals, we simply have 2 lines of text, Swan Edgar and London, which is good. It looks clean, it looks like a Bauhaus minimalist dial. And then at 6 o'clock we simply have Horizon, which is the model. The font is crisp, it's high definition, it's sharp, it's not too thick and blurry, it gives the piece a high-end feel. The quality of the printing of the white text on the dial for Swan Edgar, London and Horizon is sharp. This is very difficult to do, and they deserve full credit because with a Swiss Berlac enamel dial, which is a fume dial, of course it does look smooth, but it does have a slight texture to the enamel, and when you print with fine fonts with white paint on it, it's difficult to get the font to be very sharp, very crisp and not to be blurry, and it's not perfectly smooth as per a glossy enamel dial or alternatively a sunray metallic dial. They've done it very well. The quality of the printing really is Rolex level. That's the level of quality I'm talking about. Font is sharp, font is crisp, legibility is good. I like the fonts used for the logo for Swan Edgar. London isn't too large. Horizon is larger, but of course they want to be proud of that. That is the model. Excellent. Looks good. Aesthetically pleasing. The other thing I like about it is this silver ring, which has a bevel. around the date complication. Now, this is a fundamental they've got correct that many other mid-tier brands get wrong. It's they use a silver rectangular frame around the date window. The reason why I say that's a mistake is because often mid-tier brands and mid-tier micro brands, they use a frame around the date window which is too thick, both in depth and also the actual width of the framing. And the problem with that is it creates a permanent shadow around the date complication. The shadow reduces the legibility, the clarity of the date, both the single and the double Arabic numerals, regardless of whether they use a white date wheel with black Arabic numerals or a black date wheel with white Arabic numerals, as used in this piece. Also, the problem is with enamel dials, because often several layers of enamel need to be applied to the dial, it makes the dial very thick. And then when you have a date complication, of course, the date wheel is sunk very deep beneath the dial is thick, and then they compound it by adding a big, thick silver frame around it, the rectangle, and that casts a shadow. But credit where credit's due, they spent 1.5 years developing this dial, and you can see the refinement, because rather than having a silver rectangular frame and a rectangle date window, they've got this circle and they've beveled it. Now, the benefit of the bevel is it looks aesthetically pleasing because they've mirror polished it, but it also serves a meaningful purpose because the bevel allows more light to enter the aperture, the cutout, the circle in the dial. And it means you don't get this shadow. So one doesn't get this permanent shadow cast on the single and the double Arabic numerals. The legibility is fantastic. This does not need a Cyclops magnifier to magnify the date. You can easily read the white Arabic numerals, both the singles and the doubles, on the black date wheel. And the black date wheel blends better with the Swiss black enamel fume dial, which is blue, of course. Had they used a white date wheel with black Arabic numerals, it would have clashed. This looks better. So I really like the silver bevel to the circle. It's subtle, but it complements the silver ring around the chapter ring, the silver line around the perimeter of the 18-karat gold-plated triangle, the silver alpha hands, and the red tip to the second hand. It just looks fantastic, continuity of design. Finishing is high-tier level. This is not €928 of dial execution and hand execution. This is €10,000 plus level. It's stellar. Right, so let's look at the rest of the specification. Double dome sapphire crystal with clear AR coating on the underside. And as I've detailed, the clear anti-reflective coating does an outstanding job of reducing the glare. Correct decision after correct decision. Looks more aesthetically pleasing than a flat sapphire crystal, but they've made the correct decision by not using a double domed box top hat crystal because that would have added 2mm of thickness to the head of the piece. It's double domed, but it's low profile, and I really like the curvature of it. The other thing I like is they've used a domed solid stainless steel bezel versus a flat profile. Correct decision after correct decision. Had they used a flat profile, it would have suited a flat crystal. And this is something that often mid-tier brands and mid-tier micro brands get incorrect. These kind of fundamentals. They'll use a flat sapphire crystal and a domed bezel, which doesn't match, versus they'll use a flat sapphire crystal and a domed bezel, which clash. This is the same because we've got a double domed sapphire crystal which matches the domed bezel. And it's right. It's a simple thing, but so many brands and mid-tier micro brands get incorrect. Solid 316L grade stainless steel bezel has nice curvature, low profile, so it allows the bevel on the edge of the double dome sapphire crystal to project above it. And when you tilt the piece at an oblique angle, it catches the light. Absolutely gorgeous to look at. Another attention to detail I like is the suede leather strap, which is Italian leather. It's integrated. Rather than just using the default option of a straight end leather strap, it's integrated. So we've got curves on the end of the strap, and the curves perfectly match the curvature of the internals of the lugs and the curvature of the bezel. So you can see there's no gap whatsoever between the end of the integrated strap and the case, and the bezel also has the exact same curve on it, and it just blends beautifully. This is fantastic. So bezel is solid 316L grade stainless steel. Mirror polishing is high tier level. Curvature to the top of the lugs has flawless mirror polishing. Nice slender profile to the tips of the lugs. They're not too thick and block-like. Blends nicely. And for 39.5 head of the piece, the proportions of this piece are fantastic. Gives the piece a vintage Art Deco style to it, and also does fit the aesthetic of this being inspired by the Battle of Britain, because this does look like a watch which could have been issued or produced during the World War II and the Battle of Britain. And I really like it. I like the curvature of the top to the bottom of the flanks, and also from lug tip to lug tip. It's got this nice curvature to the centre section, like a dome, and then we've got these flat portions at the tips of the lugs, which add interest to it. So it really is like Art Deco styling. The undercuts to the flanks have large bevels which have been mirror polished, and they delete the sharp edges on the transitions of the case, and this enhances comfort level and feel good factor. Again, often mid-tier brands and mid-tier micro brands don't get this correct. They have sharp transitions, the undercuts to the flanks are very sharp, and this diminishes comfort level and feel good factor because the sharp undercuts scratch the wrist. This feels very smooth, both on the left and the right hand flanks, and I really like it. Visually it looks good because the curvature means it doesn't look like a thick slab-sided block of 316L grade stainless steel. This curvature makes it look like a dress piece or a daily wear piece, like an Art Deco piece. Very aesthetically pleasing. Right, so let's look at the strap in detail. Made from Italian leather, suede on the top side, contrasting white stitching on the edges, which adds interest. Very aesthetically pleasing. Excellent quality to it. Now, it's integrated, so of course it's thicker at the spring bar end where it needs to be more robust and reinforced, which is good. But then it tapers down in thickness and also width. And at the buckle and tang end, it's very soft and supple. How soft and supple is it? To put it into perspective, it is as soft and supple as the very best of Hirsch calf leather straps made in Austria. Alternatively, Horween shell cordovan straps, which are tanned in Chicago. They are the very best of top grain leather in the world. This Italian leather is equal in how soft and supple it is to Hirsch calf leather, alternatively Horween shell cordovan, which is top grain, the very best. Very soft and supple. It's not going to require any breaking in. There are enough holes in the strap to fit from a 6 to a 7.5 inch wrist size. Buckle and tang is correctly proportioned and finished to perfection. Let's look at the underside. Underside has a contrasting tan liner and contrasting white stitching around the edge, and you can see it says Italian leather embossed. 20 denotes the lug width. What I like about it is correct decision after correct decision. Quick release stainless steel spring bars. That negates the need for a spring bar tool if you want to exchange the strap for an alternative, and excellent to see it. They are done to perfection. Domed caps on the levers so they don't scratch the wrist rather than having slotted screws. This is excellent quality. On the other side, good attention to detail because we have Swan Edgar's text logo embossed as well as London, and quality of the tan liner is fantastic. It's matte finished, perfectly smooth, doesn't feel abrasive, doesn't feel rough, and it is incredibly soft and supple. High quality suede. Just beautiful. Looks good, feels good, doesn't require any breaking in. Right, so let's test the push-pull crown execution. So, solid 316L grade stainless steel crown, coin edge finished, and it's a push-pull crown versus a screw-down crown. Now, I'm not going to be critical of it having 50 metres and being a push-pull crown versus 100 metres and a screw-down crown, because this is a daily wear piece which could potentially be worn as a dress piece. 50 metres is perfectly acceptable. What I like about it is the coin edge crown is correctly proportioned, nice large chamfer which deletes the tips to the coin edge teeth, domed cap to it, and it's embossed with an S in the same font as the Swan Edgar text logo. Now, of course, one has to be magnanimous. Needless to say, Swan Edgar is too large, too long of a text logo to be embossed or engraved on a crown of this diameter, so they've made the correct decision by using a capital S in this Swan Edgar font, and it does look aesthetically pleasing being embossed, looks good as a brand emblem, as an alternative to the logo. So, it's partially recessed into the right hand flank, which is the correct decision for a daily wear or dress piece, because often this is a fundamental that mid-tier brands and mid-tier micro brands get incorrect. They use an oversized large crown, rather like a dive watch crown, and it doesn't look appropriate for a daily wear or dress piece in a 39.5mm case size because it projects too far from the right hand flank. And then the negative is when you flex the wrist, the oversized crown digs into the back of the hand, therefore diminishes comfort level and feel good factor. Swan Edgar have got it correct for two reasons. Partially recessed into the case, that reduces the profiling, but they've also added a domed profile to it versus being straight. This means it's curved, looks good, also feels good because it doesn't dig into the back of the hand. Now, although it's partially recessed, it's large enough to be grippy and tactile. You can get good purchase with your index finger and thumb, so therefore when it's in the closed position, one can manually wind the Miyota Caliber 9015 automatic to its maximum 42-hour power reserve. Now, in terms of smoothness, I'll put it into perspective. It feels smoother to manually wind than the Seiko NH35A, which you'll all be familiar with, and it feels smoother to manually wind than the Sellita SW200-1, a Soprod P024, or an ETA 2824-2. Doesn't feel rough or gritty, doesn't feel too stiff, feels like a premium 9000 series Miyota caliber. You'll know this from my previous reviews. The 9015 and the 9039 are my two personal favourite 9000 series Miyota calibers. They are premium, and one can really feel the refinement. In terms of refinement, I regard them as equal quality, build quality, quality control, materials and finishing to a standard grade SW200-1. That's what we're looking at. They're a level above the 8000 series, such as the Miyota 8215, which of course would not be acceptable at this €928 price point. So, feels smooth. One can feel the tension in the mainspring gradually building up to its maximum 42 hours. Pulling it out to the first click position is the quick set date complication. And when you rotate the crown clockwise, it advances the quick set date complication with a nice positive click. Now, the clicking mechanism, the quick set, doesn't feel as heavy and indexed as an NH35A, which you'll all be familiar with, but it feels lighter than an SW200-1. So really it's in between the two. Feels heavier than an 8215, and I like the reliability, I like the alignment. The alignment of the single and the double Abric numerals are perfect inside the circle, which is beveled. They're not too far to the left or the right of the circle. They're not too high or too low. They're bang on the centre. Both the single and the double Abric numerals are perfectly aligned, which is good. So feels good. Nice clicking action, sounds good. Nice loud audible clicks. Also feels good. Lighter than an H35A, heavier than a SW200-1 respectively. I really like the quick set of the 9015. It's one of my personal favourites. So, putting it out to the second click position, hacks the movement. And if you look at the red tip to the needle's second hand, you can see it's now stopped dead. So therefore it's possible to set the time precisely to the second with the Miyota caliber 9015 automatic. So we're now in the time setting position and feels smooth. Doesn't feel too stiff, doesn't feel rough or gritty. Feels stiffer than an SW200-1, there's more resistance. Feels lighter than an H35A, so it really sits in between the two. And you can feel the smoothness, it feels more refined than a Miyota 8215, which is a lower grade. The 9015 really is a premium grade equal to the standard grade of SW200-1. What I like about it is the lack of backplay. There is some backplay and there is a mechanical reason for it, which I'll explain. It is necessary. Now, if the winding gears mesh perfectly, if there was zero backplay, the problem with that is when the crown is pushed back in and the winding stem enters the movement, if the gears did not have backplay, it would cause them to jump out of position, and that would cause the minute hand to jump out of position rather than remaining static as it should do. So, therefore, when they cut the gears, they cut them so there is some slight backplay in the meshing of the winding gears. And that means when the winding stem enters the movement, it doesn't cause the meshing of the gears to jump out of position and therefore the minute hand to jump out of position rather than remaining static. But what I like about the 9015 is it is minimalised. So unlike an NH35A, which has more backplay, or an 8215, this has similar backplay to an SW200-1. It is present, but it's very slight. When you rotate the crown clockwise and anti-clockwise, there's an almost immediate response to the alpha minute hand, and I really like it. It feels refined. Feels smooth to set the time. Pushing him back in, it's got a nice positive click, and that restarts the movement. You can see the red tip to the second hand begins to sweep around the dial at the characteristic smooth 4Hz sweep. This is something I like about the 9015, and same applies to other 4Hz movements such as the SW200-1. Rather than a stutter or judder of a 3Hz sweep as per an NH35A, running at 21,600 vibrations per hour, the benefit of this running at 4Hz, which is 28,800 vibrations per hour, you have this nice smooth sweep. It doesn't stutter or judder as per 3Hz. 4Hz gives an aesthetically pleasing smooth sweep. The other thing I like about this, as I've detailed, is it has the three core colours. We have the yellow, blue and red of the Battle of Britain clock used by the British RAF during the Battle of Britain. Yellow, blue and red because we have the yellow triangle at 12. We have the blue dial because it's made from Swiss black enamel fume, and then of course the red tip. So we've got those three colours, but it actually contrasts very well. The red tip to the second hand contrasts very well to the fume dial because it's graduated. It's a gradient dial. It's lighter fume in the centre, and the outer portion around the circumference or chapter ring is dark navy blue. And the red tip contrasts very well with the dark navy. They've got it really good because you can easily read the second hand. Absolutely beautiful. So I really like the metallic finish of the 18 karat gold triangle. I like the fume dial and also like the red tip to the second hand. It's easy to read but very aesthetically pleasing. So hand winding works well, hacking works well, quick set date complication works well, setting the time works well, very smooth push pull crown, stellar finishing. Right, so let's look at the case back. We have a screwed down case back which has 4 stainless steel screws, and rather than a screw down case back, so screwed down with 4 flathead screws. I'm not going to be critical of it because this does not have 100 meters. We're not looking at a dive piece. What we're looking at is a daily wear piece, which could also be worn as a dress piece. The benefit of using a screwed down case back rather than a screw down case back with milled slots, for example, and threads on the case back and the case respectively, is they can make the case back thinner. Now, one has to appreciate this does have embossing. What I like about the case back is it's thin, but also it is a forged case back. You'll know this from my previous reviews. I like forged case backs because they are hydraulically pressed. The other alternative, the industry standard, is to engrave case backs. Problem with engraved case backs is when they have embossing like this, the engraving is deep and the edges to the engraving therefore is sharp. Now when you wear the piece you can feel the roughness, the sharpness of the high definition engraving. So although it might look good aesthetically, problem with an engraved case back is often it's sharp, it's rough, as per a Steinhardt Ocean 139 as an example, because that has Sidon, the Greek god of the sea, engraved with very high definition engraving to a good depth, looks good but unfortunately does not feel good. Forged case backs are better because they're hydraulically pressed. You can have deep embossing with a matte speed blasted background, but the mirror polished emboss section has a deep 3D effect. This is the White Cliffs of Dover, which of course is good because it's inspired by the Battle of Britain at the White Cliffs of Dover, so it's good continuity to design. But I like it because it looks good, but it's not rough. That's the point. It doesn't scratch the wrist. Therefore, comfort level and feel good factor are enhanced. This is a smooth, comfortable case back to wear against the wrist for long periods of time, such as 8 to 12 hours per day. Around the circumference is flawless mirror polished, and we've got high definition engraving, serial number, water resistance, which is 5 ATM, which is 50 meters, Swan Edgar, and it says Horizon Automatic. Just the right amount of information. Above all else, what I like about it is it's comfortable, it's low profile. Look how thin it is. You can now see the benefit. They have fully maximised, they have fully optimised the correct choice of calibre, the 9015, because it's thin. The 9015 is thinner than the NH35A, for example, and they fully maximised the thinness of the calibre because the benefit is the rotor needs minimal clearance between the case back and the rotor. It's very flat, and therefore they can make the case back very thin. Now, if this were a 100 metre screw down case back, of course, it would be thicker, and that would make this piece 13 millimeters thick. That would diminish comfort level and feel good factor. This is only 11.4. Now, if this were quartz powered or a mechanical manual wind piece and only 11.4, that wouldn't impress me. I would say that's nothing special. But this is an automatic with a rotor, which of course adds thickness. To get an automatic powered by the 9015 down to only 11.4 is excellent. And you can see how flat it is. Although it's a forged case back with embossing of the White Cliffs of Dover, look how flat it is. Perfectly flat in the centre section, not a deep bubble back case back, and that's the benefit of using these 4 flat head stainless steel screws rather than using milled slots and having it threaded, because had they threaded the case back and threaded the case internally to make a screw down case back, and the case back would have to be thicker, and of course that would make this piece 13. So 11.4 is excellent. Case back is nice and flat. Quality of the forging is excellent. White Cliffs of Dover are very aesthetically pleasing. Matte speed blasted effect is done to perfection. Looks good, feels good. Mirror polishing is stellar. I really like it. Underside to the head of the piece, as I've detailed, every facet of the head of the piece, the bezel, the flanks, the top of the lugs, the underside to the head of the piece is mirror polished to high tier level. This reminds me, in terms of case finishing on the underside, of Grand Seiko Zaratsu level finishing. Some of the best mirror polishing I've ever seen on a watch case, a level above Rolex, Tudor and Omega respectively. This has high tier level. When I look at this case, on the mirror polishing to the domed bezel, the top of the curved lugs, the flanks and the undercuts to the flanks, the tips of the lugs, the mirror polishing is high tier level. This is the kind of mirror polishing I would expect to see on a piece costing 10,000 plus euro. This does not say to me mid-tier 500 to 5,000 euro. This says to me high tier 10,000 plus. It's stellar. Tips of the lugs have bevels that deletes the sharp corners, and this enhances the comfort level. The undercuts to the flanks have bevels. The bevels are mirror polished. There's no sharp edge on the transitions, doesn't scratch the wrist. It's an incredibly comfortable piece to wear as a result. Now, there's no loom on the dial and hands, so therefore we don't need to do a loom test. So I'll move on to the movement. Now, this is one of my favourite aspects of the piece. You'll know this from my previous reviews. As I've detailed, to remind you, The Miyota 9000 series are premium grade calibers, and two of my personal favourite 9000 series are the 9015 used in this piece, the date version, and the 9039, which is the no date version respectively. Correct choice at this price point. The only other credible alternative at €928 would have been the SW200-1. However, had they used the SW200-1, and one could argue that would have been correct because it's a Swiss-made caliber and of course would have added value to the piece, it's thicker. The 9015 is a thin caliber. That's what I like about it. Above all else, they fully maximised and fully utilised the benefit of it because, as I've detailed, this is only 11.4. With a double dome sapphire crystal, still only 11.4. Had they used a thicker caliber, had they used the SW200-1, it would be 12 to 13 thick. So correct choice. Now, specifications of the 9015 has 24 joules. It runs at 28,800 vibrations per hour and a frequency of 4 Hz. Has hand winding and hacking, which use for complications. Quick set date complication works well, as I've demonstrated, and the stated accuracy is -10 to +30 seconds per day. So rather wide accuracy range. However, I'm pleased to report that Horologium, the manufacturer of this piece for Swan Edgar in the UK, are doing a good job of regulating the 9015 calibers they're using. They're regulating the movements in 5 positions to chronometer accuracy. So this one is running consistently at +2 seconds per day, which is actually chronometer accurate. Chronometer accuracy is -4 to +6. +2 is within chronometer accuracy of -4 to +6. +2 is well within the stated accuracy of -10 to +30 for a 9015. Excellent. That is the benefit of Swan & Edgar using Horologium in the UK to assemble their watches in the UK and regulate the calibers they're using in the UK, because the quality control is therefore higher. And that's really worth paying for because you're getting a chronometer grade accurate movement regulated in the UK by Horologium to chronometer accuracy of +2. Stellar accuracy. Are there any negatives to the 9015? None whatsoever. It's a fantastic movement. Build quality, quality control, materials, finishing are stellar. I regard it as equal quality to a standard grade SW200-1, standard grade ETA 2824-2, or standard grade P024 respectively. That's the level. It's a level above the NH35A, which of course wouldn't be appropriate or acceptable at this €928 price point. So I'll give you a shot and see how it fits my 8-inch wrist. Just bear with me. I'll remove my Concord 40. Now, as I've detailed, this Italian leather strap, which is suede, will fit from a minimum 6-inch wrist size up to a maximum 7.5-inch wrist size. But, however, I'm pleased to report there is just enough length on it to engage it just in the first fixed keeper and the second sliding keeper. So, to clarify, you can see the tip is just projecting beyond the second keeper. But realistically, 6 inches minimum, maximum 7.5 is the maximum it will support. I can just do it up on an 8-inch wrist, but too tight to slide an index finger beneath it, which is the correct bracelet and strap sizing method. So I'm not going to be critical of it. So why is that? Well, I appreciate for the majority of collectors with a 6 to 7.5-inch wrist, this strap will fit perfectly. There are enough holes to size it down to a minimum 6, which is good. There are enough holes, as you can see, 2 spares even on my large 8-inch wrist, to size this up to 7.5 comfortably with a loose fit. 6 to 7.5 will fit the majority of collectors. What I like about it is 2 things. It's integrated. Rather than just using the default option of a straight end suede strap, there would be a gap between the strap and the case. They've used a more aesthetically pleasing integrated strap with a curved end. The curvature of the end of the strap, which is integrated, perfectly matches the curvature in between the lugs internally and the curve of the domed bezel. Blends into the case very well. Also, the profiling perfectly matches the top of the curved lugs. Very aesthetically pleasing. Suede gives the piece a daily wear piece aesthetic versus a dress piece aesthetic. I absolutely love the contrasting white stitching. Taper is good. 20 is the correct lug width. Nice taper down to the buckle and tang. I like the curved U-shaped buckle and it's mirror polished to perfection. Low profile, nice heavy gauge to it. Scalloped on the underside, which deletes some of the meat, and that enhances comfort level. Fits very snug to the wrist. This buckle wraps around the wrist with very good curvature. It's an incredibly low profile buckle. It doesn't project too far. These are the kind of refinements, the attention to detail I really like about this piece. It blends into the strap and the wrist very well. Doesn't have a large gap underneath it because it's got this scallop or recess. It's just a fantastic looking buckle. Very aesthetically pleasing. Nice curvature to it. For example, these are the fundamentals that often mid-tier brands and mid-tier micro brands get incorrect. They use an angular buckle, a rectangular shaped buckle with sharp corners. But the case and the bezel and every up part of the head of the piece will have curves like an Art Deco piece. Swan Edgar have got it correct because we've got all the curves. We've got the domed bezel, curvature to the flanks, curvature to the lugs, even the integrated strap has curvature to the ends. So plenty of curves. Now the point is, had they used an angular rectangular shaped lug with corners and straight profiles, flat edges, it would not look right, would it? But this curved U shape actually matches the aesthetic because we've got the curves on the head of the piece, the bezel and the strap, and then we've got this curved U shape buckle rather than a rectangular buckle. These are the attention to details. These are the refinements I really like about it. And as a microbrand, they deserve credit because even the buckle and tang is an original design. They haven't copied. It's not an homage to another buckle and tang. This is an original design to Swan and Edgar. The Horizon buckle and tang and the integrated strap is original. Fantastic. Looks good. Feels good. Very soft and supple. Now, wrist presence is good. What I like about it is the proportions. So, to remind you, 39.5 head of the piece is perfect for a daily wear piece. This will fit you regardless of whether you have a 6 to 7 inch wrist or a 7 to 8 inch wrist respectively. 39.5 gives good wrist presence, doesn't dominate the wrist, doesn't sit on top of the wrist like a thick slab of 316L grade stainless steel, doesn't feel heavy. What I like about it is only 11.4. Nice slender rehorts, it's not too deep. So the sapphire crystal sits close to the alpha hands and the Swiss burlap enamel fume dial, and also the gold 18 karat gold plated triangle. But you can see, catches the light beautifully with the metallic finish of the 18 karat gold, the silver mirror polished CNC cuts hands, and the Swiss burlap enamel dial. The fume dial is just gorgeous the way it graduates from a lighter blue in the centre to a dark navy blue at the circumference. Fantastic. So low profile at only 11.4. Now lug to lug is something to note. It's compact, but it's not too short. 47.2 is only 0.8mm below the perfect sweet spot. You'll know from my previous reviews, 48 lug to lug is the perfect sweet spot because that will fit all wrist sizes, regardless of whether you have a 6 to 7 inch wrist or a 7 to 8 inch wrist respectively. So it's only 0.8mm below the perfect sweet spot of 48. This will fit you with a 6 to 7 and equally fit you with a 7 to 8. What I like about it is the flat case back, low profile curvature to the flanks. The tip of the curved lugs wrap around the wrist very well. You can see minimal gap. They've got the proportions done to perfection. Nice slender profile to the lugs. Other thing I like about it is, you'll know this from my previous reviews, 13mm and below is the sweet spot with regards to thickness. One would expect this to be 12mm plus because it does have a double dome sapphire crystal, which of course does add some thickness versus using a flat sapphire crystal, but it's still only 11.4. Well below the 13mm sweet spot, so needless to say, this will easily slip underneath a shirt cuff if you wear business shirts, because anything below 13 will fit underneath a shirt cuff. 11.4, very low profile. If this were 11.4 and it were quartz powered or mechanical manual wind powered, it wouldn't impress me. I would say that's nothing special, but it's an automatic powered by the 9015, has a rotor, needs additional clearance. 11.4 for an automatic is very low profile with a double dome sapphire crystal. So good looking piece, has enough wrist presence to satisfy, but doesn't feel top heavy, doesn't feel too thick. The heft is something I really like. This is only 68 grams. Now I would expect this on a leather strap in 39.5 diameter. I would expect this to be circa 75 grams, but they've slimmed it down to only 68. And 75 grams in itself would be comfortable, but 68 is exceptional. Benefit is, this actually feels weightless on wrist. When you're wearing it on this suede Italian leather strap, it actually feels invisible on wrist. Comfort level of this piece is stellar. Feel good factor is stellar. It's just a great looking piece from every angle. Has an Art Deco aesthetic due to the curves on it, the double dome sapphire crystal. I absolutely love the 18 karat gold triangle on the dial, and my favourite aspect, as I've detailed, is the Swiss burlap enamel fume dial. It's just mesmerising. 1.5 years of development, and you can really see the refinement. The CNC cuts alpha hands are mirror polished to perfection. They're like Grand Seiko dolphin hands, and I like the silver bevel ring around the date complication. It's just a fantastic looking piece. Very satisfying. 68 grams is comfortable, 11.4 is low profile, proportions are perfection personified. Suede strap adds interest, gives the piece a daily watch aesthetic versus a dress piece aesthetic, but of course you could exchange it for a glossy strap and that would give it a dress piece appeal. So last I'll summarise the piece. What do I think of it overall? Well, when I'm considering reviewing a watch on my channel, the watch will meet two criteria. It should be both excellent quality and excellent value at the respective price point. So mid-tier piece, to remind you, mid-tier is €500 to €5,000 respectively, €928, well within the mid-tier. Yes, I'm going to declare it excellent quality. I'm going to declare the value as okay. The reason why I say the value is okay and not good or excellent is because this does face some stiff competition from mid-tier brands and mid-tier micro brands at the €928 price point. It's a very competitive price point in the mid-tier, between 500 and 5,000. 928 is highly competitive. Specification is strong. I really like two aspects of it, which do justify the price. The 18 karat gold plating, which is 10 microns thick, adds significant production costs per piece. One has to appreciate that. The other use is, or the other aspect, is the use of the Swiss black enamel fume dial. This adds significant production costs. And one has to appreciate they are producing this in limited production runs of 300 pieces. It's not a mass-produced piece, therefore production cost per piece is increased exponentially. So 18 karat gold makes it more expensive to produce. The use of Swiss black enamel fume dial makes it more expensive. The 9015 therefore is the correct choice. The only credible alternative would have been the SW200-1, but that would have made it thicker, so I think they've chosen the right movement. Italian leather strap is high quality, again that adds value to the piece. The other thing that really adds value to this piece, and you have to remember this, and I'm repeating it to remind you, this doesn't have a 1 year warranty or a 2 year warranty. 2 years of warranty is the industry standard in the mid-tier, as I started the review with. This has 5 years, and 5 years is the kind of warranty one expects with a high-tier piece on 10,000 plus euro pieces. Rolex, for example, offer a 5 year warranty. One doesn't see 5 years of warranty in the mid-tier from microbrands between 500 and 5,000. It's exceptional. That does add value. So the three things that add value are the use of 18 karat gold, the use of a Swiss black enamel dial, and also the 5 year warranty. One has to add those factors in. So I'm going to say excellent quality, and I'm going to say okay value, and I'm going to highly recommend it to you for consideration. I hope you've enjoyed my review of the Swan Edgar Horizon Enamel Blue. Please feel free to post your own comments below the video. Thank you for watching.